I'm here to talk about one of the German Game of the Year nominees for this year, My City from Thames and Kosmos. And the game changes from round to round. Usually there are irreversible actions like tearing up cards, adding stickers, destroying components in the game in some sense. What this does is it gives you a really unique piece of the game. It means that my experience playing this game is kind of a one-time thing, and it can be different from yours. No fear, people understand that you don't want to spend $35 to $50 to get a one-time experience. So there is an alternate version of the game for when you're done playing the legacy version that allows you to continue playing the game. Let's go ahead and take a look at the components and basic rules, and then we'll come back for my thoughts. Speaking of building cities, I'm trying to build a board game empire to take over the world. Not really, I just do this as a hobby, but I love it. And so if you want to support me in my hobby, please like and subscribe below. Ring the bell if you want to know about new videos that come online, and I really appreciate it. Nothing better to love than board games. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's in My City and kind of the rules on how to play. First of all, My City is an extremely simple game, which is something to be said for a legacy game. If you're not familiar with legacy games, basically it means that you'll play over the course of several rounds and the game will change as you do. Usually these changes are irreversible, which is part of what gives legacy games their charm. I will go ahead and try to not spoil anything for you. If something slips, I'm very sorry, but there really isn't too much to be spoiled in this one. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the pieces. This is a player board. Here you can write the name of your expanding city. Up here, these little dots is where you can keep track of how many rounds you've won, and then the points along the outside are victory points. Each player will take one of these wooden cubes and place it on the 10 to begin. Now the rules of play are actually very simple. Go ahead and shuffle the cards that are included. Pull out your set of buildings, which look very much like Tetris tiles, and you'll place those face up so that you can see them next to your board and organize them. Play from here is extremely simple. You flip over a card, and that's your first building. Now your first building must always be along the river somewhere. Take note that placing a building with the corner touching river does not count. It must have an edge touching the river. After your first building, all other buildings must be touching that building. Everybody will simply take the building and lay it alongside. Now obviously this has some similarities to Tetris, but every game the rules change slightly. Here are the base rules. Each of these light green spaces that is not filled up at the end of the game counts as a negative point toward your score. Every rock that is not covered up is also a negative point, so each of these spaces is a negative 2 points. However, every tree that you manage to not cover is also an additional point, so each of these spaces is a positive 2 points. As you play the game, the pieces will come out and you'll have to make harder and harder decisions as to where you're going to place your buildings. If a building comes out that you don't want to place and that doesn't fit into your plan, you can simply pass on it by reducing your score by 1. The earlier games are very simple and it eases you into the game nicely. However, as the game moves on, it begins to get a little bit complicated. Some areas of the board may become unplayable, where you place your starting building gets a little bit more complicated, and you add stickers to some of these tiles in order to make placement even more difficult and more strategic. One of the other components that you'll notice come in the game are these large envelopes. Now these large envelopes are all a chapter. Each chapter consists of 3 episodes. Generally, these episodes are designed to be played back to back. They each take around 15 minutes. Inside of an envelope, you'll generally have rules for the round, which kind of introduce the story as well as some alternate rules, and then a quick reference sheet for who gets what and the scoring specifications. You may also have something like a sticker sheet or some new cards, or even some new buildings to add to the collection. Like I said, getting My City up and going is extremely simple. You can be playing within minutes, and for a legacy game, that's actually very impressive. The rule changes each round are slight, but they do add a little spin to the game. In case you were concerned about this game not being playable after you finish the legacy version, on the other side there is a map that will always be playable. We're not quite done playing all the way through My City yet. I think we're on around chapter 5, but it's been a treat. It really has. The rules are simple and elegant. Legacy games for a long time have not been very approachable because they generally have a very large rule set and it's kind of hard to grasp. My City has taken it to a whole new level and made this really approachable at a family level, which is awesome. Starting the game each round feels very familiar and you know basically what you're trying to do. The added rules of the legacy version are just enough to make it interesting. That being said, I don't know that My City is really the best game for everybody. I think there is a certain personality that loves this game, me and my wife being one of them. I think there are some personalities that it's not quite enough interaction and enough aggression for some players. There are not opportunities to really mess with your neighbor at all, which for me, I like that. I enjoy having a level playing field where we can just battle it out with our wits and nothing else. If you like games like Cartographers, Railroading, or Karuba, you'll probably like My City. The real treat here is that it's a legacy game. Overall, it's been a pleasure to play My City and I'm excited to finish. It's just been me and my wife that have played through as a 2-player game and we've really enjoyed the journey. If you get a chance, I would say pick up My City. Unless you know that you're going to dislike it, I think it's an extremely approachable game that most people will enjoy. Thanks for watching if you've made it this far, and if you have any suggestions or games that you want to see reviewed, let me know in the comments below. I do read and respond to every comment, and I really appreciate hearing from you. Have you played My City? If you have, let me know in the comments, and I would love to know what you think of it. Is there something that they could have done different to make the game a little bit better? Is there something that you feel like it fell short? Or is it perfect? Let me know in the comments.